Hi, everybody. It's the 14th of April. It's a lovely day in the neighborhood, and we have lots of questions. And my machine worked today. If you could have seen me a week ago, I was pulling my lovely purple locks out by their roots. I couldn't get in. I had four good questions that had already been posted, and it was just nuts. And finally, I just had to walk away because I was just going to and it ends up that was the best thing to do because they don't um, it didn't get fixed early and apparently YouTube was not picking up what StreamYard was trying to send to them, so let's all blame YouTube again. God only knows which end the problem was on, but there's no people to talk to. You just get to talk to the AI bots that send you to all places that you can't be helped. So welcome, welcome. My big celebration is I finally crossed the 7,000 line, and I was at 6,999 for almost a week, and they don't round up. But now you get to one person drops off, I'll be back down to 6,990 again. I mean, they're just so. If you have not liked or subscribed, subscribing today's the deal. Go over, push that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. I answer your questions for free. And if you're not a person who's active in chat, realize that the questions you're going to hear in chat are the questions you need to hear in your life. When I teach people how to read cards, that's one of the first lessons I teach them is when you read people's questions. When I used to read at psychic fairs, I would get people who were in much the same place I was. Because at that point I was a professional working tax accountant and a reader on the weekends. And um, you and I was going through a long drawn out divorce and custody battle. And damn, if every woman who didn't come up to my table, even men, I thought, oh God, it's a guy, it'll be okay. Nope. They'd had a long drawn out. They were having the exact same problems. So I was getting to read their cards and read my cards. So what I've learned from that is when you read cards, you're reading your own cards, which is one of the reasons why I know people get really bent out of shape about it, but I don't read politics much. I read it on Sunday with Scott, but I really try to avoid political questions. For most part, most political questions have so many layers to them. So do people's life questions, but some life questions can be, if I get around this problem, will I make it to the next day? Um, and and that's kind of a question all of us could ask, but anyway, I want to thank everyone who's shown up today, everyone who's here. I may have a live show tomorrow at 10, or it'll be live, I'll be taping at 10. I'm going to be talking with Danny Shea about trees. I found a quantum physicist that explains why the energy of hugging a tree stays with you. And it's something I've known for a long time. Um, you'll hear much more about it, but a long time ago I watched a long show on people who followed who grew and followed trees, and shamans that worked with forests, and especially this one shaman in the forest in Australia, and how she could sense how all the plants were talking with each other and helping each other. And eventually, a young Canadian forester in the 1990s designed a test to prove why, when they would clear cut forests and then they'd clear the ground down to the ground, get rid of all the little plants and things, and then they just stick little Douglas firs in it, why over half of the Douglas firs wouldn't grow. And the reason was they need a whole ecosystem. They need a whole, it's like they needed a village. They needed a village of all of the vegetation that was around them to grow and to be real trees. And when they changed their forestry practices in Canada, these are now been adopted worldwide. But excuse me. Speaking of the forest, the trees here are pollinating right now. When a tree sends a signal through its roots and it goes out to all the trees, and they've known this about aspens for a long time. If an invasive bug hits the edge of an aspen forest, when the bug's been on the first part of the forest for less than a week, at the very far end of the forest, the trees are creating the things that will kill those bugs if they make it to them. So they're a very collaborative community, and they give out an energy all the time, and it's constant with them. So the basis of this guy's thing was go out and hug a tree and see how it changes your energy. Now, we don't live where there's lots of trees, small bushes and things. Plants do the same things, but trees are just a big, giant example. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm either going to tape it or the show will be live. If you're subscribed to my channel, which we all need now, go subscribe. If you're subscribed to my channel, Nancy Jean's Garden, you will get the notice. And I send out notices about everything I do. I don't understand this question, but I'll answer it if I can. Oh, I got a new member. Yay. Yes, this lady. Oh, this is another thing. At the bottom of my screen, it says, buy me a cup of coffee. If you type in, buy me a cup of coffee, and you go in and you donate, it's a way you can donate money. You can donate as little as $5. I send you a personal thank you. I pull an oracle card for you, and I say thank you, and it's from me to you. And I did that for Marianne yesterday. So yay, she came over and joined here. I think I found her on Substack. I also run shows on Substack. Oh, thank you. This is one of my dragonfly blouses. Thank you. Somebody likes my blouse. And hi, Dr. Gail. Oh, Dr. Gail brings my another thing. I sent out to those of you who have gotten grids from me, I sent out a notice that Sheila and I are putting together a show about grids and how they work. Sheila actually has 2 of them. And we were going to talk about how they work because grid business has been a little slim, guys, but I haven't been talking about it that much, so I don't blame people for going, well, I don't remember. What am I supposed to do? So we're going to be talking. What I did is I sent out a thing. If you have a grid and you're in the chat and you would like to be included in either, you can write a testimonial about it, or we're going to tape a few. I've got 4 people lined up to tape testimonials, and I don't know how many Sheila wants to take. But what we're going to do is you don't have to be on the show. You won't be on when we're putting the show together. Sheila and I are going to do a segment on how crystal grids work. I'm going to show 2 new crystal grids I'm building right now to show on the show. And we're going to cut in the testimonials or just put them in the verbiage so people understand. So if you're interested in participating with me and helping with me, and the lady I built the most giant grid for, the one that I gridded her house, she's going to come on and we're going to talk about that. Yes, and this is good. If you reply by grid and subject, it makes it easier for me to figure out what's going on. And let's see, we're at the end. Okay, now we're going to go to questions. And because I couldn't be on last week, I had 4 questions that had come in. So we're going to start with those. And hi, current comment. Okay, show. This woman asked if she was adopted and she would like to find a sibling. Ironically, from what I understand, she hears her name is Nancy Jean. It's not me. My dad on my birth certificate isn't my dad, but I have no siblings from that side of the family because I know who that dad was, and there were no kids over there. And everybody's going, she what? Yeah, I know. Ironically, from what I know, how do you, anything you feel would be helpful? Yeah, do the Ancestry. They're real good. Ancestry, because of the father that's not my father. I found a whole bunch of cousins and relations all over the U.S. I had no idea were there. And we tracked it back to that particular name. And they said, well, he lived up in Chicago and he was a millionaire and we didn't know anything about him. And I said, well, he was one of my parents' best friends. And unfortunately, I know more about him than I wanted to. So anyway, but it's kind of an interesting adventure if you're willing to go into it. But I'm going to tell you, it can also open up a can of worms. So, and this is a show. How's April going to be for me? And this is for Catherine T. And I think she's already had a pretty good April. But I'm going to throw it in the garden so we can see it over there. And I'm going to get it up, set up. Yay! We're in the garden. We're in the garden. I'm in the garden. It's safe to be in today. We're having tornado watches all around us. And they're going up to the big tornadoes are supposed to be right up where I grew up in Illinois. And they're talking about apple-sized hail. I've been there when that's happened. It's scary. I've been there when the hail was so tall it looked like snow on the lawn. Anyway, so what we're going to do is Catherine's April. Woo, good for you, girl. Oh, your body's in Go For It, which is just a perfectly wonderful spot for you. Your body's in Go For It. Your grounding's in sacral chakra creativity, which means now is the time for you to think of things in a creative context. That's how you're going to move forward. That's what you're going to start working with. Manifestation through using your grounding, the parts of you that feel very grounded. Your mind's in fire. So yeah, and I know this is true I know this lady pretty well. She's going through a lot of her past and weeding out what she wants to hang on to and what she's decided it's time to let it go. She has spirit in her solar plexus. Girl, you way out here in the chakras. Power comes from your ability to transform and transmute the energy you're working with right now. She's doing a lot of personal energetic work, and your clarity's coming out of Earth. It's right here. And it says, you have many paths ahead of you, and you will pick the correct one in the future. But the biggest one for you is in Go For It. Movement right now for you in this month is going to be easy, Catherine. You're doing all the right things. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're taking care of business. You're not running from the past. You're facing it. You're working with it. You're dealing with it. And she's got a lot of stuff going on around her that makes that important. And it's stuff we just need. We really need to do it all the time, but we don't always do it. So, okay. Will there be an opportunity to present itself for my life for going in a new direction? Okay, let's see. And I didn't cut their names. These are the questions that were left from last week, and I had to copy them over. So let's see. New direction. New direction, lady. I hope you watch the show today because you can get your answer now. Oh, okay. You got some interesting spots here. For those of you who are new and don't know what the garden is, it's a divination tool I invented, and I like it. I think it works really well. I used it. I did 2 readings last night, personal readings, hour-long readings, and one of the ladies said she was asking a timing question, and the cards are showing us nothing. So that's why the garden happens to be out today. I pulled the garden out because the garden's great on time. This is winter, spring, summer, fall. And if you're asking a timing question, and the paperwork's going to come through in the summer and the deal's going to be done for her business in the fall. And she said that made sense with what she knew was going on. And I hope it does, because this lady's worked so hard to get where she wants to go. Now, for the lady opportunity for you going in a new direction, yes. It says about the past, you need to break from previous patterns and learn from those experiences, but you can't go back and fix the old ones. So take the experiences that taught you how to move forward and work with that. Then your body, fuse like, is in fire, and your So you're moving, which you're going to things that are new, but they're based off things you know how to do, which is kind of, that can be very comforting, because getting thrown wholesale into completely new things can be a little bit tricky. And then this stone, since it fell in two spaces, I have to read both of them. And this is her clarity is in, your problem is you don't have a clear opportunity. You don't have a star that you're pointing towards. But with your clarity also being solar plexus, it says there's going to have more than one or two opportunities. You're going to have to really think about them. So yeah, you're right. You're not sure exactly what's going to happen. What you need to do is open yourself up, let go of the old energy, open yourself up to new things, because then you got new stuff over here. And in here, you got a great, it says in the near future, because he's only halfway in the near future, grounding changes are going to turn into long-term patterns. So if you want to get out of being where you are and go in a new direction, now's the time to look for the signposts and work towards a new direction. And it's going to be what you can think. It's going to be what you can, this part, your grounding being in air, is telling, it's what you know. When your thoughts are really clear, I think what's making you crazy is you can't think clearly enough. Now, spirit is totally in air. I know it looks a little like it fell over into the present, but it doesn't. When you can see it on the board, it really is not. It's right there. And when your spirit's in air, your spirit is in the process of transforming your thinking. So, oh, good Lord. Something horrible happened. Wait a second. My phone just gave me a great big giant. And what happened? I don't know. That's a big noise. It's kind that says storms are coming, but it's not there. So I'm okay. And you're going to be okay. But you are in the process. I think you're deciding that there will be opportunities, and you have to think in terms of the opportunities there and to use your own mind to define it. And that's when you're going to find out. And then once you start working towards it, you're going to build off old patterns that worked, work with the things that work, get a clear definition, and flip this one over into solar plexus, and you're fine. And I know for those of you who are tarot hounds, that doesn't help you much, but I know this lady. We're going to go back to me. No. Okay. Hi, Nancy Jean. I'm wondering if it's better for my husband living in Nigeria and I to relocate to Portugal for a while so he can get into the U.S. so that we can be together. And if you do you get a time frame? That's why I'm going to use the grid for how long it will be before we can permanently come together and live in the U.S. Okay. And this lady's name, you see her in the chat a lot. Her name is Nivra. Okay. First of all, Nivra and her husband coming to the U.S. What do you see? Ooh. Oh, you got some very powerful stones. You got your clarity, and your grounding is in the tree of life, which is the strongest of the chakra area. It says what you need to be. Don't be deceived by things that look like they're the genuine article. There's going to be a lot of people around you. Abundance only comes to you when you learn how to live in complete harmony with what's happening around you. And your clarity kind of fell between true and the tree of life, and your path is blessed with wisdom. That's the most important thing. This one just says you guys have been taken by so many charlatans and have spent so much time and energy trying to get him into this country. And I'm kind of trying to tie these together for how it figures into moving to Portugal. I may do that as a separate question. No, it says your ideas are correct. Your ideas are correct. What you're thinking about doing now is correct. and it's what's happening around you. Um, Fire is our life coming in, earth is our life growing up, air is how we think in this life, and water is how we move through our life. And this can also mean moving on. And you've got two stones in water. Um, Staying grounded will really, really help you go through this process. And really, the transmutation is completed. That would tell me that you already know what the answer is. You've got an idea that you need to go to Portugal, and you need to get this quest out of the kind of boundary wars. But I would also tell you the other thing is so much is going to change in this country in the next 3 months, and that may change his prospects of moving in with you as a citizen. And then in the earth, you have your thoughts. More final thoughts on this situation are coming. Something's going to come to you really soon, Nevra, that's going to tell you which way to go. And I think the way I read these stones, it says that Portugal is a good way to think about it. I know you've written in the chat before about the situation. I always read about immigrants situations because I'm a child of immigrants. My parents immigrated from Canada. They drove across the bridge into Detroit and actually went to Chicago, but that's a whole other thing. And I understand what it's like because as a child, even though my parents never acted freaky about it and they seemed like they were 100% and knew where everything was going. And my older brother was born in Canada, and every year until he was 18, we had to go. There was a form at the post office because the way the government talked to everybody is through the post office. There's a form at the post office they had to fill out that said where he was, what he was doing, blah, blah, blah. When he was 18, my parents had become citizens when I was an infant. After I was born, I was about, maybe not an infant, 4 years old. But they left it that David was made a solid resident of the U.S., but he wasn't a citizen. That would be his decision at 18. And that's how they ran it at the time. And and they made him sure he went up to Canada. He knew all our relatives up there much better than the rest of us did. And at 18, he decided to stay here. He's 4 years older than I am, so he'll be 80 this year. And that was in the middle of Vietnam when they were, of course, he was in college and going to go to college, so they didn't think the draft would get him. Well, while he was in college, they eliminated the deferment for being in college. So he got to go the Dan Quayle route. If you remember who Dan Quayle was, David was in the National Guard to serve out his time. And he really felt bad about all that time he did that, not because he lost time in his life, but because he was available to use that way, some other guy was being shot in Vietnam. So that's a boomer story show. Her thing starts with question. Will the Democrats win the California governor's race? And I don't normally do politics, but I'll do this one and I'll explain why I think this one's slightly different than, because she's not asking me about, is thus and so a dirty, slimy bastard? She's asking about a race, and that race has been shaken up. And I will tell you, you can listen to this answer as well as the people who listen to both Scott and I. Scott and I commiserated with each other within 6 hours of us saying that Swalwell wasn't going to pull. He pulled. Now, had I known some of the background stuff that was going on, I've since found out that all 50 of his campaign people and staff people resigned in the same letter. All 50 of them. You can't be a politician unless you have reasonably decent people around you that are helping guide you. And it meant they had a much better feel for what was going on than he did. I didn't read the stuff. I don't know what was going on about it. But what we're asking about now is the governor's race. So Take this. This is a giant grain of salt. You ought to take any political reading you get from a reader. Matter of fact, I was watching another reader who had recorded something earlier in the day, and she was saying, "Oh, he'll never leave." And I would never say never about anything. So, okay. Will the Dems win? Okay. I've got a yes, and I'm going to show you the cards. This is a far past yes. California's been a comfortable state for them. But there's things in that state that are upsetting and could pull it away from them. And I think it's because the Democratic Party within that state is not unified. And you have to have a unified party at the center of your state to get elected. You really do. Or you have to have an incredibly strong person come in who's going to completely change the party. But what I see now is what I see is this is a Nine of Pentacles, woman standing in the garden, feeling very secure about where she is. And the Dems overall, that's the background of the garden. But there is no justice in this state. I mean, there is no justice in how elections are run. And their problem is, and this is the card I expected to see, this is the Five of Swords. There are too many Democrats running. There's too many Democrats who want it. I think they should work their way down to two. And then if they did that right, there's enough Democratic voters that those two, I don't know if you know what the kind of primary they have. They don't have like a Republican and a Democratic primary. They have what they call a jungle primary. And it's that no matter what party you're from, you run for that office. So there could potentially be two Republicans on the ticket for governor. And one of them is just a complete disaster. And I think by pulling all the ballots out of Orange County, I think is where he was, he's really screwed himself. But and then that would leave one. Now that means all Republicans in California just have to vote for one person. And I think the last time I looked, there were 6 candidates running for Democratic governor. My personal preference, and I'll say it's my personal preference, so I won't lay cards on this. My personal preference would be Katie Porter. I think she's brilliant. And I think all the crap people said about her being tough on her staff, if a woman's tough on her staff, she's sort of a witch, but put a B in front of it. If a man's difficult with his staff, well, of course he's demanding. He has a powerful job. He needs to be. That's the sexism that I'm going to be so, I don't know if I'm going to live long enough to see it go away, but I'm so happy to see some of it going away now. And yes, I'm being very talky about where I am today. So now we go down. Yeah, hi, Sharon Sipe. Hi, Linda Bishop. Susan, yay! Susan, I read Susan yesterday. We had a good time. YouTube's preventing me from getting the 2 channels I want to visit. Sandra, I think you know my email. Could you email me more about that, and I'll see if I can help you find a way around it. I know YouTube's raising its prices again next month, and I've had a couple people say I'm not sure I can continue to watch your show. But I guess I could do lots and lots and lots of shorts. Or you can go over to Substack, where a lot of my stuff shows up. I'm just starting to read, and I have to read. And also, I injured my thumb. Can you see? I sliced that off on a mandolin, and for 2 days I couldn't run my mouse because I have a roller mouse, and the Band-Aids don't run on roller mouses. Yeah, Linda Bishop and I are talking about she had big trees she climbed as a child. Yeah, I had a friend who had a ginkgo tree. Those were wonderful for climbing. And they're the oldest trees that are left from ginkgos were around when the dinosaurs were around. Can grids be used to help weather pattern directions? I don't know. I've never thought about that because I think of grids as being something you personally bind your energy to, and it's sort of like a backup generator. It's like a battery that's behind you. So in the days you feel bad, you can go sit by it and say, okay, and you can put your hand on it and you can pull energy out of it. And it's a place where you place your intentions. So magical mermaid, I've never tried. I don't try to move weather patterns. I'm not, that's shamanistic. When Danny and I do trees, ask about that. Talk about that. Oh, thank you. This also helps us. If you share what we do, the work we do, if you post it to another person, YouTube thinks that you can do that. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, Sharon, I don't know why I put Susan Lynn's thing on my thing, but she's there. I guess maybe she's in the chat and I missed it. Oh, well, data centers are going to dry the world up, so they're going to cause all kinds of problems. But okay, yeah, data centers are they're the Texas coast was always a very wet, swampy, humid place, and they tell me it's drying up, which I find kind of interesting because it's pretty sticky and humid down there. These are other ways you can support me. You can support me with my PayPal account at Crystal Directions or Venmo at Crystal Directions. All of those will work. Sharon Sipes back. Girl, you've been missed. Somebody said to me, where's Sharon been? And I said, I don't know. I hope she's resting. Peace and love. Here's a typical question. When will I get the house of my dreams? Thanks so much. Okay, let's see. What's going on around peace and love in the house of her dreams? Okay, peace and love. Let's see what we got here. Oh, you got really interesting cards. Really interesting cards. You're going to make this happen out of self-will or nothing else. You haven't moved for a particular reason, and it's possibly to get to this dream house. And this is in your past. This is but you've really, really thought about it, and you've been working on it really hard in your energy fields. Now you got the Knight of Cups. You're going to get what you want. And then you got the best card you could get in this case, the Ace of Wands. That's a whole new endeavor and something brilliant that's coming up. Your deal is going to be getting with the right people to help you either redo the house so it's done the way you want it, or just if you start from the ground up. But yeah, peace and love, that you're definitely going to get that house. The garden that I have on silk paper, yeah, this is on silk. My garden is on silk. You could laminate it. I actually had a lady who bought a garden who did laminate it because she found it moved too much and it didn't make her feel secure. So once you buy a garden, you can do what you want, but I know where you're going to buy one because I have none left. Last one went to Annie Bear. Oh, Mimi Nee wants to know how her trip's going to go with her sister. Yay! Let's see. Mimi Nee's trip with her sister. Will it go well? Nibber's in the chat. I answered your other question from a week ago, Nibra, and I think it pretty much answers the question you've put into the chat. So go and watch that one. My sister invited me to a trip in September. My brain is bouncing off the walls. Yeah, this you're thinking about it in terms of your sister of old, and the one you've always liked. Um, one and or both of you carry a certain level of grudges against each other, and you just don't do that. Don't start playing that game with her. Don't said, was the old Smothers Brothers routine. Mom always loved you best. Don't get into any of that. Just enjoy what's going on right now, and just pierce through it and bear your more I'm going to get you side. And Mimi, I've never seen this used this way, but I'm going to get you side because you too. Now I know people say this is illusions and delusions, but you're going to be in a different place. You're going to be in a different space. You can make it what you want. And if you know in the original trope, in the original Rider Waite deck, in each of those cups is coming castles and dragons and illusions. So you can have a good time. I mean, you can just enjoy the scenery where you are. You're going to have a good time. Linda Fraser, she's been around forever with me. You've been around since we were less than 1,000, I think. Yes, it's fun, and it's like I'm just happy somebody shows up and listens to what I have to say. But thank you, and I know I could have more members if I read differently and did things differently, but I can't quite remember all that. I don't know. Never. I'd have to go back and re-listen to it. Oh, what do I mean about the 3 months? Oh, yeah, we're going to be a very different country in 3 months. That's all I know. That's all my guides keep telling me is they said, don't tie into the crap. I actually have 3 or 4 news services that send me good news every day. So I can look at that and see what's going on. And they're full of things about how we're winning the war, we're winning, or young people are helping us. There's a young woman, she's 15, and her science project was to remove the microplastics that are now everywhere. You cannot, I don't know, this is a report I read that was kind of scary, but they did 3,000 autopsies in New England, and every single one of them had the same protocol. All the states got together and they said, check for microplastics in all the tissues. And they gave them the money to be able to do that. And these were infants to people in their 90s. Even the infants had microplastics in their cells. And when you get up to be 90, of course, you have them. And this young 15-year-old kid has found a way to filter water to get the majority of the vast, except for the nanoplastics, which are the teeny tiny ones, to get those out of the water. And she was her science project, and she started working on it last spring, and by the end of summer, she was at a lab near where she lives, working with the scientists, and it was her ideas. So that's a good news story, right? For all the trash you read about the trash, about all the data centers and stuff. Well, we'll find a solution around those. And that's what I mean. I'm trying to think some. I really should have a good thought I found each week because I read them. Shifting Veils has been out on the water near Florida. Oh, Shifting Veils, I made it to 7,000 subscribers. Have a good birthday lunch. Okay. I know you can, and you're doing everything you can. My computer savvy child has put the best kind of water filter you can. There is not a commercial filter that gets rid of the plastics. We, and this is a sad topic, and it's a political one, we eat the equivalent, well, we ingest the equivalent of a credit card's worth of plastic a day. Unless you grow your own food in your own garden, but still, even the plants get it up through the roots. When I started reading about this, I said, okay. And I just said, I'm going to follow it because, I mean, I can't not drink water, and you can't boil it out. You can't do anything else. We got rid of our plastic cutting boards. We got rid of our plastic. We went to wooden. Of course, I always tended to use more wood for my serving things than that. And I've always used I have some beautiful Portmolian stoneware that I use for serving pieces and stuff. I don't use, and we got rid of our plastic storage things. We went to glass. I mean, if you can afford to do it, you can afford to do it, but it doesn't matter because it's like there's with this kind of infestation. And the problem is we don't know what it does. We just know it's there. And we know, some of us were getting along okay without it. Matter of fact, one day, Scott and I were talking, and we were talking about, he and I are both old. He's just old enough to remember that milk used to be delivered in glass bottles. And we remembered I used to tell him that when I was first married in the early 70s, I used to call it my savings account. It was the whole big thing of carbonated drink bottles that we would build up, and I would drag them down to the grocery store, and I could get enough money back from the grocer for those bottles to buy a meal, to get enough stuff to make a meal for my husband and myself. And then all of a sudden, everything was wrapped in plastic. And it's just another thing to make us paranoid. I'm not worrying about it so much because I'm not hearing a whole lot of, and I know they're really looking at it. They just know it's there, and they're kind of like, why are you there and what are you doing? So if you want to see some things about improving your life and improving your health, Danny and I, it's either going to be tomorrow or the next day, but if you stay tuned into my channel, if you're subscribed, you'll find out when it's going to be. We're doing a show on trees, and there's a quantum physicist in Australia, and I found him a couple weeks ago, and he does the most fascinating studies on the kind of energy we talk about, the kind of energy I feel, the kind of energy you feel. Well, we all feel it. It's around us all the time. And how nature and different things help and build it and how to understand it. He does a fascinating study on why walking works and why we all need to walk 15 minutes a day, a directed 15 minutes a day, be up on our legs. And if you can actually tell by how well a person's walking and how their gait is going and how they're moving, how much longer, that's a one clear thing. It doesn't matter about your cholesterol, doesn't matter about these other things, although those are important. But the one most overall accurate test is a person's gait, how fast they can walk from here to there, and how many seconds. It does regulate our body. It actually, they explained how the mechanics of the human foot is different than any other creature. And there's the thing that's called peristaltic motion that's in crystals. And I've actually seen videos of where they're throwing quartz crystals into a box, and you can see the electricity that's created by that going through the crystals. And it's one of the reasons why I believe crystals are alive, and I believe that's kind of how they work. And he did a whole thing on how by moving your legs and moving your body and how your joints moving, how that pumps your blood differently, and how you have to work. Your calves should be called your second heart, because when you're working those calves, then you're building it up to the second heart. And I ride a bicycle. I have a foot bike, ped bike, and I only ride it for half an hour to an hour every day. And that's when I watch these videos I talked to you about. And I have to get my heart rate up to a certain amount every day, and that's the best way for me to do it. Now I can get out and walk. Right now, walking outside is pretty miserable, not because of the rain, but because of the pollen. But anyway, his name is Freeman. Anyway, he's, you can, if you go into your YouTube, and I know you got YouTube, if you're watching me now, go into YouTube, and where it says search, put hugging trees. And his name is Feyhrman. And he's an Aussie. So if you have trouble with Australian accents, good luck with watching Libby and good luck with watching him. But it's not that bad. It's not as bad as Crocodile Dundee, that guy that used to be on. But he has a whole series of science and how we can apply that science to our lives. That's where I found the show about trees. But there's a lot of fascinating stuff out there. And that's what I've been kind of dwelling on lately, just positive, good things I can bring into my world and make part of my life, that, because Lord knows I walked that line last year. I don't want to do it again this year. And walking is also meditation, and it can be. And he talks about how you need to walk on different kinds of surfaces. And that's what I've always had the most trouble with since my knee replacement. I've tended to stay on really flat surfaces, and I have not done myself a favor by doing that. And anyway, there's lots of things we can do to make our lives better. And when we make our own individual life better, and we focus on that, and we don't focus on pain on the outside, we're doing better. We're building a better world. And I mean, this morning I was thinking about what a miracle it was. If you watch the people in Hungary come out against Orban, and nobody thought he was going to, a year ago, they thought he was set for life. He was always going to be there. So that's why it's really so important that each of us holds on to the world in our mind that we want to live in. And then we extend ourselves enough to care about our neighbors, to participate in the ways to help do that. Oh, and the other good news I got this week, for those of you who know Sean, my charming young son, who has CLSB politics, and he is where I talk politics, he's being interviewed by the New York Times for the print edition, not just for one of their catchy little things. It's kind of a long story how he got there, but when the guy met him, he said, I've watched all your YouTubes, and you really are good with the numbers, and you really have a concise point of view. And they're taping his interview Saturday, and the guy's going to tape it, and then it's going to be in the print edition. So I'm so proud of him, because he's worked really hard to get that kind of recognition. And there aren't many people working at the level he's at that get that kind of recognition. And so that's kind of it, guys. If we're looking for an end, and for the last two people who just joined us, go to the beginning. It was a fun show. I caught up on the show I didn't do last week. I've got one more thing. I'm going to pull a card for y'all. I'm going to pull my favorite cards to pull from right now. Gentle Wisdom of the Fairies. And Gentle Wisdom of the Fairy Realms is actually what it's called. I'm having a little trouble shuffling these cards because of how they're configured, but this is what the deck looks like. And you can tell it's got a rough, beaten up old, I've had it for a long time. It was a gift from a friend, and it was made by a woman who ran a rock shop near where she lived in California. And this is a nice message for us today. Okay. Isn't she pretty? Give and receive. There is an abundant, constant flow of energy through all of us. We give and receive energy in many ways. If you feel depleted, you may need to replenish your energy before giving out more. Likewise, if you're feeling stuck, you may need to give out more. What you're stuck with is being stuck in your own energy. Keep the flow going. It is an unlimited supply. And I think that's a good way to enter that. And you guys have given and given to me in the 5 years I've been on YouTube's. And like, share, tell your friends to come see me. Go look at me on Substack. And if you have ideas for shows, you can post them to me through my emails. And I hope everybody has a good time and enjoys. I mean, you can't enjoy what we're going through, but you can find the things that give you enjoyment. And it's not oh, I'm happy, so screw the rest attitude. It's, if we're all unhappy, we have no chance of making it out of this. So everyone, take care. I'll see you maybe tomorrow. Definitely so Saturday. And I'll have a thing out about it. I'm going to be Sabrina from Calgary does a turn your lights on, and she does it at the time that our porch lights should be turned on. I'm going to be there, I think about 6 o'clock my time. I'll post all the information about it. What is my live schedule? I'm always on Tuesdays at 1. And I'm always, except last Tuesday because YouTube was screwed up. And I'm always on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, and I talk politics then. And, but like I said, if you're subscribed, let me ask that question. If you're subscribed, Blue Daffodil, if you're subscribed in my channel, you trust me. People will tell you I give you notices about stuff. So many notices. And I work hard on my thumbnails. And someone complimented me on my thumbnails. And I work hard on those. And I try to find cute ones. And I try to not just have ones that I have AI make, although they make really pretty ones. But anyway, goodbye. Good night. Have a good day. I hope the storms pass you by. How can you get an angel card? I don't understand your question, Sharon Seib. Bye-bye.